Hello and welcome to Elflace. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell down below to know whenever I upload. Today I will be talking about some D&D, well, not some D&D. This is one of my favorite campaigns that we ever played. It is called Don't Fret. Well, I think that's what it was originally called, but kind of turned it into something else. We ended up causing a cataclysmic event, so stick around to hear about that. Okay, so the party started off entering the tavern, Danny entering first. He was a big Goliath who carried a warhammer. He was the war cleric. Then Aaron followed into the tavern and chose to sit with Danny because he had the biggest muscles around. And she kept checking him out and flirting with him. She was the barbarian. Next came Lectra, a really old elf that is a druid, who had been living here in Fret and protecting the forest. She walked in and started talking to everyone but Aaron and Danny. And then she finally, after talking to everyone else, decided to come over and sit with Aaron and Danny. Aaron had been talking about how great Danny's muscles are. And as Lectra sits down, she's just like, that's strange. Well, hello, my name is Lectra. And you are? Danny responds, my name is Danny. And then Aaron goes, I'm Aaron. They were eating and drinking until the Magister came in, where he looked at Lectra and said, you aren't causing trouble from some new people in town, are ya? You are always causing trouble in that general store. And Lectra replied, well, I wish they would get rid of those stuffed birds. Just behave, the Magister replied. You know, Lectra, instead of bugging people, you could go look at the old ruins again. You like to do that. It was an old church, but there isn't much there for Lectra at this point. She's gone there several times. And the Magister replies, I heard there were some bandits there recently. And Lectra just shrugs because, you know, they're not bugging her or the village or the forest. But Aaron looked at her with excitement. Let's use our new friendship for good. How about you take us to those bandits? And Lectra stood up and started to lead the way. After she finished her veggies, because she was vegetarian. As Danny only ate meat. When they arrived at the ruins, this old building, Aaron charged right into the camp, not even talking to them, and Danny followed suit, where they started fighting, and Danny using his warhammer, and Aaron using her sword, and Lectra deciding to use Earth Tremor, an old ruin, because that makes sense to her. She opened up a hole into the ground where they could drop down. After, Aaron sliced one in half, and Danny pummeled the other, Lectra used her Thorn Whip to attack the last one, and they all decided to go down after they were all taken care of. Lectra pointing out before they go down that they should probably make a way back up, and Danny just dropping down and going, I'm tall enough, I can reach the top, and he literally could reach his hand all the way up and pull himself out. And Aaron just dropping down because, you know, she's dexterous. Ooh, I'm really good with my words. Lectra was having some trouble because, you know, she couldn't really turn into anything right now that was flying-wise, and she was not the dexterous type. She looks at Danny and Aaron and she's like, can one of you guys catch me? And, Danny begrudgingly holds out his arms, and she jumps down and Danny catches her. As they are down there in the dark, stony room with doors on either side, and then there's a big double door in the center. They decide to head to the left. As they were heading that way, you can hear the stones crunching beneath their feet, and Electra, inspecting the architecture as they're walking, realize it's human architecture. They enter the room where there are skeletons on the walls, and there's a coffin in the center of the room, and Danny decides to open it up, not making sure the skeletons aren't gonna just spring to life. And they start attacking. Danny and Aaron fight as Electra tries to help them as much as she can, being that she is more of a healing druid instead of a fighting druid. After Aaron and Danny smash the skulls of the skeletons, they search the remains to see if they can find anything, where they find a mysterious amulet. Electra was always like sketching whatever design she saw on the walls, other pictorials, and then she sees this amulet and she sketches that down because she doesn't really want to lose that design. She feels it's important to her. As they walk through some more hallways, they didn't really find much except for other rooms that are very similar. And Electra just kept searching for secret doors because she was obsessed with secret doors at this point. They found another similar room, and every time Danny came across a skeleton, he would smash said skeleton's skull so that they could not come back to life. Electra and Danny were trying to figure out what the symbols were on the amulet, and they spent the whole day like looking at the place, and they decided to go back before they could go through the double doors since it had been almost all day. As they left, Electra had to ask Danny for some help, and Aaron could just hop her way out, and Danny could just pull himself out. So yeah, Electra had to ask Danny and Aaron for help out, because she was not the strength type either. So they decided to come back for the double door on another day. They headed back to Fret to sleep and see if anyone else could help them. They were trying to find out if there was a wizard around or anything that could help them. Electra slept in the forest in a tree as Aaron and Danny stayed in the tavern. When they woke up the next morning, they all were eating, and an Eladrin walked in. He had a bow on his back and was playing his bagpipes as he entered. He walked up to the three, stopping his bagpipes, and sat down asking for alcohol. He said, "Hello, my name is Dalen," and it seemed that he has been traveling very far and wide. He had a wild look in his eye, and him and Aaron seemed to hit it off because they both have bagpipes where they start playing. And Electra gets very annoyed very fast with bagpipes as a wizard walks in, which we are going to call him Fairness for this, but I do not know his name, so if Crazy Jake or Ren could comment down below what his actual name is, that would be awesome. Well, going on, he heard the bagpipes and did not seem interested in the bagpipes, but he came over and joined them anyways. He noticed that Electra was looking at him, and she says hello, and he goes, "Hello, my name is Fairness," and he pulled out his book and quill and asked what they are doing here. A group of strange individuals all together. "Well, if you walk into a room," says Electra, "and you see a Goliath, a trident, I mean, tiefling," haha, she laughs at herself, "and an Eladrin sitting here, you obviously know that we are up to something." And he goes, "That seems fair, but what are you up to?" And she considers it for a while because he does look the wizarding type, and she pulls out the medallions and shows them to him, and he looks at them curiously, scrutinizing them, but he has no idea what they're for, and he says, "Maybe we could go back to that place and find out more." And she agrees, Electra agrees to go back and go to the place. But this time they plan to bring a ladder so that Danny does not have to catch Electra or help her out. So they buy a ladder from the store as Electra's throwing a fit because she does not enjoy giving this shopkeeper money at all because he has birds. stuffed birds in his shop at all times, and he seems to find it enjoyable. As Lectra is the druid, she did not enjoy that. Danny carries the ladder all the way out there where Fairness and Dalen tag along, and they head down into there and open up the double doors. As they open up the double doors, they see stairs that lead up and lead down. Lectra realizes that they have entered a different area, that it is more of a dwarven ruin instead of a human ruin compared to what they have just left. You see dwarven statues on either side of the stairs, and you look up the stairs and it's covered in rocks and stuff, but it seems easy enough to maneuver those rocks, but they decide to go down. And as they're heading down, they find more and more dwarven relics and such along those lines. They enter into an old abandoned, it seemed like a dwarven keep, where there were ballistas and dead elves and dead dwarven remains. Lectra and Danny both check it out to see what happened, and it seemed like there had been a fight. They went along into this giant place, and they go along, and they set off one of the dwarven traps where our friend Dalen comes sliding back down to us, and he goes, "Oh, you better be careful, the stairs don't work as stairs." And then he just starts climbing back up, even though it's still a slide. They wander around this ruin, finding some booby traps and some other things. They find a secret vault that is down one of the hallways. There's a trap with falling floors, and Lectra almost falls through, and then she steps back, getting away, luckily. And then we have our Eladrin, who can teleport across, and he teleports over there, and he's like, "There's a ton of stuff, maybe we should have multiple people come over here." And we had the barbarian go over, and I think Danny went over there too to help look through it, and they found some stuff over there that we could take, and then they found a bunch of iron bars, and then we made sure to make note of that so that we could trade it for later. As we go through here, we try to find out more about what happened here, what could have happened, and how it ended up this way. Lectra, being who she is, she draws pictures of everything that there is, and the wizard taking notes on everything. He's trying to figure out everything also. As they're going through, they find a cloak of protection, which they end up giving to Lectra, and she still has to this day. As they continue on, they also look for other things, and they come across a kitchen, and they find alcohol. And they also find spectral beings where they fight, and they win. And then Dalen goes up and tries to drink the alcohol that by now probably has vanished. And as he tries to drink this alcohol, he finds out there's nothing there, and he becomes very, very upset, to the point where he becomes Winter. See, this Eladrin that we have in our party is one where he rolls to find out what season he is after having a catastrophic moment for himself. And he becomes depressed and annoying. He's one of those depressed people who's like, "Woe is me, nothing is gonna happen, nothing good's gonna happen from this. I think everything is wrong." And so the whole time he's telling us all of our plans are bad. As Lectra keeps searching, they find like weapons and other things that are ruined. Lectra finds a little toy, and she ends up pocketing it so she could bury it later, which does happen later. She tries to make note of everything she takes so that she can do something nice for those who have died here. There's many elves and dwarves here. It seems that they had a fight, like all dwarves and elves have. As they continue along, looking for a way down, Electra finds a secret passageway, because her and her secret doors, she likes to find secret passages that leads down even lower in this dwarven ruin. As they head down into this lower area, they find in an elf's hand on the floor a paper. This paper was ripped and torn. The whole top half is destroyed. It says, "Warning, this should not," and then it's ripped. "Opening," and then it has place both godly medallions, which later on we find out which medallions these are, but as of right now we could not tell. So the closing instructions were using the power of magic, most learned by individuals. Cast the powerful magic into each of the 4 elements. Once done, you may remove the idols from the pedestal, and the magic infused with the 4 elements will allow for the release of the idol, closing the portal. As they continue on, they find a triangular piece, and then they find the pedestal with, it looks like a dwarf defending it. Back in the day when I didn't take notes, but I had some notes, I read through some of Electra's notes, I should say. And this is what I wrote. 2 medallions, 3 tapestries, a gold bowl, death shroud, 1 platinum, 2 hammer things, 1 hammer medallion, which is one of the medallions, 4 2 golden statues, 9-foot rope, a toy wolf, and a wooden dragon. Going through some of my older notes, I was trying to see if I could find any names, but I don't know. I think I'm still gonna call them Fairness. But maybe one day I'll just go through and read all my notes, because that'd be interesting. Back to the story at hand. They think it's a good idea because they don't have the whole note in hand to go up and put the medallions and the triangular piece into the pedestal that is right there. Once they put it in the pedestal, the earth starts to shake and a portal opens up beneath the ground. As the pedestal falls into the ground, they see creatures coming out of the portal. Everyone scrambling to find out what to do. Aaron and Electra turning into a horse and galloping away as Aaron hops on her back. And everyone else tries to stop the portal as they're running away. Realizing that this earthquake is farther than this general area, Electra decides to turn back around with Aaron on her back and let Aaron fight the big, gigantic earth elemental and the snail creature. I don't know what they're called. I'm not that versed in what these creatures would be. As everyone else is scrambling to go do this, Danny and the Eladrin, which is Dalen, are fighting the earth elemental, trying to stop it from doing that, stop it from attacking Aaron, who is currently fighting a snail-like earth creature. And this whole fight starts, and then they do not realize that this is worse than they thought, as the Eladrin drops, and Lectra has to heal, and Fairness is running to get the things and throw them in with bad aim, because he is a wizard, not a throwing type. So getting Dalen back up, everyone scrambles to go get an orb that is in each of the four corners and toss it in there to do that, as Aaron fights off both the Earth Elemental and the snail, trying to stop them from taking out everyone else. They chuck each of them in, and the portal goes smaller, 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 and then poof. As Aaron takes out both the snail and the Earth Elemental with Danny and Dalen's help, and Fairness being able to finally join in. As they all collapse, they head down to the bottom and they check out what happened. The medallions had fallen, the piece had fallen, and there are runes going each direction. Lectra writing down the runes and asking Fairness what these runes may pertain. Fairness can only read one, and it says fire. And from there, they realize that something else is afoot. They start gathering all the pieces, and then we're going to head back into town. And this is where the story begins. And the Cataclysmic event started. All because they were curious as to what to do with some medallions. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell down below to know whenever I upload. And if you enjoyed this, there should be more coming out soon, because I plan to keep this storyline going, because this is one of my favorite of all times D&D stories. This has been one of my favorite campaigns of all time. It has given us all a lot of growth as characters, and I hope you guys stayed through the whole thing. If you did, comment down below your favorite part. Bye.